difference. We can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world.
I knew I had a sharp group in front of me today, so I am not even going to suggest to you what the topic of my talk is going to be. I'm going to let you mull those lyrics around in your head. But because my husband Denny and I are so blessed to have so many children and so many grandchildren, I've always got material. And I am going to start with that material right now. When our daughter Katie was 4 years old, she had 3 imaginary friends. And these little friends went everywhere with us. They went grocery shopping, they went to church, they got in the bathtub with Katie, they were tucked in at night. They were part of our family. And one afternoon, Katie and I were down in the kitchen together, and I do not have the remotest idea what the problem was, but there was a problem between us. And Katie stood there and put her hands on her hips and said, "I hate you, Mommy." Well, I was taken back by that, and I went, "Katie, do you know how much that hurt me? I can't believe you'd say that to your mother. Now, I want you to march yourself upstairs, young lady, and I want you to think about what you said to me." So Katie tromped on off. And about 10 minutes later, I went up to her room. She was on her bed, so I kind of knelt there, put my arms around her, and I said, "Katie, I'm so sorry that we had our disagreement down there. You know how much I love you. I love you too, Mommy, but my friends still hate you." You know, you don't realize until you hear something like that from your child how much you need to be lifted up and elevated in life. A child has that ability, doesn't she, to lift you up and then let everything drop. A number of years ago, I was invited to a small luncheon, and I found out Karen Foss was going to be there. For those of you that are not from St. Louis, Karen Foss was our #1 anchor in town for over 25 years at Channel 5. I admired her. I think even at times I longed to be her. I loved everything about Karen Foss. I loved her looks, her hair, her clothes, the professionalism she had, the way she handled stories, her voice. I was happy to be able to go to this luncheon. So when I spoke with her for a while, she said, "I wish I could talk longer, but I have an interview." And I said, "Oh, can you tell me who it's with? And I'll get to know before anybody else tonight." And she said, "Well, I'd tell you happily," but she said, "It's not tonight. It won't be for some weeks." She said, "It's with Jack Buck, our wonderful Cardinals announcer, our Hall of Famer." And I looked at her and I said, "Will you tell Jack Buck that the O'Leary family loves him and has him in their hearts all the time?" And then I briefly told her our story. And that was that when our son John was 9, he was critically injured in a fire that burned him on 100% of his body. 87% was 3rd degree. And I said, Jack Buck did not know us from Adam, but he found out about John. He went to the hospital the next day, and he continued making periodic visits with him. And when John miraculously survived and was able to go home, he continued by gifts of baseballs. I said, we really attribute so much of John's healing, not only to the Lord, but to the intervention of Jack Bucks and his concern. So we parted our ways. Some weeks later, the phone rang. And it was a friend saying, if you don't have Channel 5 on, turn it on now. Karen Foss is talking to Jack Buck about John. So we went in, turned on the channel. It was not the regular news. And there was Jack Buck crying with a towel, wiping his face and asking them to shut down the cameras. And when they came back, Karen continued her questions on John. So when that ended, I was so touched that she not only remembered my request to share that with Jack, but she brought John into this interview. So I wrote just a little note thanking her for those things, and then just saying, the O'Learys feel that you're number one all the time. We will never watch any other channel or anchor in the whole news media. I sent the letter the next day. The day after that, I got a call. Guess who it was from? Karen Foss. Karen Foss was calling me, whom she had just met at that luncheon, to thank me for the note I'd sent because she needed to read it that day. I feel like that was one of my many little pivotal moments in life. I brought my kids down and I told them what just happened, and I said, do you understand? Everybody needs to be lifted up. Everybody needs that feeling that they are loved, they're supported, they're encouraged. You know, we all carry and harbor doubts within ourselves. But the beautiful thing is that we each are given the ability, and I feel the ultimatum, to go out into the world and make that difference that people can see, and they can see it in family settings, they can see it in individual lives, they can see it in church communities, they can see it in schools, and you can see it in businesses that may be not holding their own and doing so well. When you have an attitude that is positive and encouraging come in, it changes everything. It changes everything. We have that ability to reach out. I could talk about all the names of people that came to visit John. I could talk about the names of people you wouldn't know that came to visit John. I could share with you stories of the people, men and women, that affected lives, hundreds of thousands of lives in third world countries by doing what they do, of helping children escape Nazi Germany. I could go through all these things, but what is most important is you and how you respond to that call to go out and make a difference, to go out and transform when you may be feeling on your game and when you may be not on your game. The prophetic words of Ralph Waldo Emerson tell us the purpose of life is not just to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Some of you may have heard the story of the older man walking down the beach, and in the distance he sees the shape of a young man apparently doing some sort of modern dance movements. He couldn't tell what it was. He was bending down and going up and bending down. And the closer this older man got to this young man, he could see that he was bending down and throwing things into the water. And he came to him and he said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, I'm just throwing these starfish back in the water so they don't die on the beach. And the older man said, oh, look at the miles of beach you have in front of you. Are you telling me that you can make a difference by throwing a few starfish into the water here? And he bent down and took another one and tossed it in. And he said, it made a difference to that one. What I say to you is, go out, claim all the gifts that you have. Know that you will be lifted up by others, but understand that what your role is in life, what you are commissioned to do, what you are called to do, is to make a difference in this world in any way you can. God bless you, and God bless the differences you make.